Does Lasso make you more money? That is the key question when you're thinking about purchasing any tool, and especially if it's a tool all about raising your affiliate income. Now, I want to be fully transparent. I was gifted 2 months of Lasso. I did not pay for this. However, I used it for 2 months, and I want to talk about what happened in those 2 months. Definitely, if you want something a bit more in depth, where it's like a 6 month sort of test period, which is usually what I would do, but I'm going to talk about why I'm not doing that here. You should check out someone else. I know Jared Bauman of The Weekend Growth. Bauman? Don't know how to pronounce his name. He did a really in-depth study where he saw an increase in over 700% in his affiliate income. I didn't see that. I'll tell you that right now. I'll spoil this ahead of time. But I want to talk about, is it worth it? Lasso, if you don't know, is a plugin that is meant to make really pretty boxes, hi Theo, pretty boxes for your affiliates. It's especially well known for integrating with Amazon. And when Amazon got rid of site stripe images, this was something that people were talking about a lot because Lasso can actually convert all of your old site stripe images with one click. I tried it, super easy, was really, really effective, definitely faster than me going through and using the API individually. However, I don't do a ton of Amazon. It's just for none of my niche sites is it a focus. So that was something to consider immediately. But it's also well known for creating the pretty boxes. And the pretty boxes are very pretty. I will fully admit that. Definitely they were a little bit different than I expected to create. You can see we have their homepage demo happening in the background right now. I didn't realize that they use shortcode, so it was a little bit unintuitive to start using. And it definitely took me a couple days to really figure it out. That is just because my hubris, I came in and thought I could just do it and it'd be perfect and it'd be easy. But I had to watch a couple tutorials to really understand what I was doing. And that's pretty normal for a tool. But did it work? Now, I put this on one of my niche sites. It's a smaller starter niche site that gets about 15,000 page views a month. And I did this over December and January. So December is definitely going to be a higher month for this niche especially. It has some kind of wintry posts that do pretty well. And I wanted to see, was this going to increase my income? What was interesting, my clicks went from about 1,200 a month to 3,900 clicks. But it did not significantly change either the income or the number of things purchased. And that's what matters most to me. Now, it definitely increased my income. Basically, that site usually gets anywhere from $80 to about $150 a month in Amazon. Again, it's not doing a ton, but it's doing a decent bit, to be fair. It actually does better than my main site on Amazon, but my travel vlog doesn't really have Amazon. However, I have a rule. I do not buy tools unless I am making enough to cover their yearly cost in a single month with the thing that's kind of happening there. So for this site, simply put, it doesn't make enough money for this to be justified to use. Now, I could see a few use cases where I might need it, but because I'm still not going to prioritize Amazon on the site, it's not worth doing more of this. I will say it is super frustrating having to go through and adjust and remove everything now. My VA is a little bit annoyed at me for this test, but I kind of knew I wasn't going to keep it. Because I did expect that, number one, in 2 months, it might not have been long enough for this to really take effect. I will say I saw absolutely no ranking changes, no issues there. There was no significant speed change. I think it added 0.2 seconds on one post, but that was largely because I put the featured table graph thingy, and it partially loaded in the first view of the page. All the other ones, it didn't load within the first view of the page, so the intro was the full load, and then you had to scroll to see it. They had no actual speed issues, so that was really great. Now, for some pros and cons of Lasso, I definitely want to give this a fair review. Pros, it is really easy once you get using it. I did really appreciate that you can just pop a link in from Amazon and it will do the rest for you. I also appreciated that you can add 2 different buttons. Now, there's only 2, which I do wish there were 3 in some cases. But that's me getting a bit greedy, fully admit that, where I would have loved to have been able to put let's say, let's go to travel. So maybe you want to put Expedia, Hostel World. Well, I guess it wouldn't be on the same thing, but maybe it is. Hostel World and Booking.com all at once. Maybe you want Hotels.com, Booking.com, and Expedia. That's why a lot of people are using something called Stay 22, because it will auto select amongst those three. And so I think Lasso would do really well if they considered adding in one extra button, which I am getting greedy, I know. Now, something else, I didn't realize with Lasso, it generates the image automatically from Amazon, but it doesn't generate this other, like you see on the screen just a second ago, it had like the star rating and the like pros and cons. I didn't know that that wasn't an automatic thing. I definitely thought that it was kind of a built-in part of Lasso. Now you have to add this manually and go through and like select the star rating. I always assumed that that was coming straight off of Amazon and it wasn't like a personal star rating. So I found that a little bit odd, but again, probably just a misunderstanding on my part. Now, I love like that you can kind of customize the boxes, but I would say it needs a little bit more customization for me. I found that the buttons just weren't quite big enough and I couldn't really adjust that. So I couldn't change the font size individually in a way that like made a significant difference. I'm such a like stickler for this. I hate, even in the example that was just on screen, I hate when like an image is in the corner and the text keeps going past it and there's just empty space there. I would rather center the image in the middle. So for me, that was just kind of a little pet peeve, I guess. I do really, really wish, and I'm pitching this to Lasso right now, pitching this live. Lasso, please listen. What I would love to see is if they integrated with Booking.com's API. They do integrate with Booking.com, but they're not pulling API images. If they could pull API images for Booking.com locations, because that's a huge thing for travel bloggers. When you're trying to write a post about different destinations, it's really hard to get images of all the destinations in a legal way. If they had a way to do that, oh my God, they would corner the market on travel bloggers. We would all be using this plugin because it would be worth it. As I said, it's not worth it for me because I'm not going to focus on Amazon, so I don't see that like this is going to cause a huge amount of growth on the Amazon side of things, because I'm just not going to put in the effort there. But if I could use this for something like Booking.com, oh my God, I would be on this so fast, it would be on all my websites. I also want to admit that there were some cons here in terms of figuring out the back end of the system. I didn't really understand that you had to like kind of import your analytics and didn't just automatically connect if you connected your Amazon inside your site. So I actually had to go and track my analytics. Like I only learned to connect it in the last week. So I had to go and do my checks manually to tell you guys about like how much money I made and how much it changed. But that's kind of a mini thing. So you can see that the revenue on screen right now, I didn't get that. And that's really where people compare them to a Filate. Now, before I kind of finish this off, I'm going to give like kind of a rundown at the end. I do want to say that everyone compares this to a Filate. I use a Filate religiously. I do not think they have any comparisons because they are such different tools. There's like very, very little that is the same. The only thing that is the same is that they kind of track how much money you're making. That's it. That's kind of the only similarity. But that's not even like the main reason I would use either one of these, because realistically you could pretty easily set up a Zap or something to just like filter those into a Google Sheet. Maybe, I don't know, you could do something, I'm sure, or you could just check it manually. I don't think that just having someone sum up your revenue is enough of a reason to purchase something. So what I look at are the other USPs. Both of them can tell you about broken links from Amazon. That's pretty good. But Lasso's definitely more about the front end conversions, where I think a Filate is more about the back end conversions. So Lasso's more about like presenting things in a way that are going to like get eyes on your content and be more like poppy and eye catchy. Meanwhile, a Filate's definitely more about analyzing your data, going through, doing heat maps. The heat maps are a huge thing with a Filate. They're my favorite part of it. And that's missing from Lasso. You could definitely integrate Microsoft Clarity and kind of put it together, but I don't think that they're really comparable tools, to be honest. I think that you could very easily have both and it would be worth it, only if with Lasso you're really using it for Amazon. Now, why do I keep hyping Amazon when, like I said, you can connect this to Booking and everything else? Because I've coded like these blocks really easily myself. So I can actually make something just as pretty with cadence blocks very, very simply. And then it's a cadence block, and I'm not paying any money for it. It's very easy to use. Yes, it can't have the exact price from Amazon. You can't really have that unless you're integrated to the API, but that's not really caused a huge issue before. And I think that also might be why my conversion rate didn't jump that much, because I was previously using those boxes that I had coded. I first learned how to do it from a Start Blogging 101 tutorial. I'll tag them in the description, but then I adjusted them a bit for my site, and yeah, I've played around with them over time, and so they're a little bit different. If you want to get your hands on mine, you can buy them in my AI-infused blog post templates. There's 6 templates that have pre-written or pre-formatted posts with AI prompts built in. But one of the bonuses that you get is you get my top 3 block and then my number 1 thing block, which look very much like actually the one on the screen right now from Lasso, where it has a box around it, a little kind of flaggy thing on the top, your button, all that. So there's no real requirement for me to have Lasso because of that, because I already have a way to format those and to make it eye-catching. So I just don't think I need the extra cost for it, and I am definitely a budget girl, 100%. So that's just easy enough for me. Now, if I had a site where I knew I was going to have, like the example here seems to be about watches, if I was having a site like that, or it's all about Amazon stuff, even maybe a lifestyle site where you are going to cite more Amazon stuff, go for it. I think this would be such a great thing. And even in 2 months, I saw a change. I'm not saying that it didn't have an impact. It definitely did. And I'm sure that if I hadn't been sick for all of January and had been able to write a couple extra dedicated posts on it, or if I had looked, that's one of the reasons why admittedly I didn't look sooner to see about checking those integrations to be able to see the revenue kind of show up there. I'm sure I would have seen more growth. I definitely think if you use this tool the right way, it can do a lot for you. It's just not for me. And I think that's important to be honest about. If that site starts making over, I believe it's 280 with change per year with Lasso, if it starts making even 250 a month off of Amazon or off of an affiliate that would benefit from this, like being in these blocks or something, then I would use it. The other option is, would it save me that amount of money every month in the cost for my VA to do things? Right now, my VA is having to go and pull the API image, but we're doing maybe 5 a month, maybe. So that doesn't take that long. It is not costing me $250 in a VA every month. If it was, then yeah, it might be worth it. I just think you need to weigh the pros and cons here, and I don't think my sites are quite right for it. So I do want to thank Lasso for letting me use this and letting me try it. I think it is a really interesting tool, and I do think that it is helpful for a lot of people. I just think that I'm not quite the target demographic here, and because I don't pay attention to Amazon on most of my sites, and that is really the main thing that they talk about, I think that's more who Lasso is going to be beneficial for. I definitely, please, Lasso, if you ever add that booking.com API, if you figure out a way that you could get that done where you could pull images from booking.com, and I'll be cheeky and say also if you could do it from Viator and or Get Your Guide, oh my God, I'll be back so fast. I will happily take advantage of this. So that's just something to keep in mind, that this might not be for you. They do have a 14-day trial that I think is really great. You can also for free connect some level of your revenue just to test it out a little bit. But I should also say one thing, and this is why I have to change things over afterwards, is not that okay, now all of the widgets break, which rightfully so, they're going to, but you're connecting your Amazon link kind of through Lasso, and then it does convert the links to be a Lasso link. So I need to come through and undo that. It's kind of like if you did with travel payouts, if you convert the link through them, it's a travel payouts link. It's not a Viator link, it's via travel payouts. So if you want to change to the direct program, you would need to change it. I think that's a huge con people talk about a lot, and that's actually what put me off Lasso to begin with for a while, I'll be totally honest. But I will say, if you really like it and if it helps you, you're not going to leave anyway, so it's kind of okay, if that makes sense. It also does, the good thing about this is it's going to force me to do a bit of an affiliate link audit on all of my sites, which I have not done. I don't think I've done one actually since January 2023, so I've been very negligent. I need to do that. So I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think it's fun to go through and fix them all, but that is something to consider if you're going to consider a trial of this. don't do this as a trial. If you're planning to use Lasso, you're planning to use Lasso, because, or at least don't change over your past links then if you're going to do the trial. So when you first join, you have like the option to like import your link, sort of a thing. I did that for this test because I wanted to test it, and that means I'm going to have to go through and undo them. Thank God for Link Whisper making it easy to find all of those links, but I will have to manually change them. So this has been Lasso. I really did appreciate getting to use it. It was cool to play around with the tool. I do think that the boxes look really pretty, and I think if I did more tables and comparisons, like I think I have like 2 laptop and a camera posts on She Knows SEO. Like that's it on that site, and that's like the biggest ticket items I talk about anywhere. So it's just not quite right for me. But I do think it's a cool tool. I think it's pretty, once you like get over, I think give yourself like 3 days to actually like watch a tutorial, play with it a bit, and then it'll be pretty easy to use. And yeah, just make sure that you think to yourself before you purchase, honestly, any tool. This is kind of my rule across the board. Do I absolutely need this to make money? For this case, no, you can run affiliates without this. Like you don't have to have this for it to work. For something like key search, you're not going to rank for SEO without an SEO tool. So then like you need to put the money down first, essentially. But then I also want to go, okay, is this going to change that revenue significantly? Is it going to save the amount it costs, or am I making the amount it costs? And the reason I do it where I need to be making that amount per month rather than like, oh, I need to make $289 in a year from it, is that if you keep justifying it to yourself as like, oh, okay, 5 tools are $250, well, or $250 a month. Well, I make $250 a month. No, all of a sudden now you have like, you are like in debt times 4. So we don't want that. So because I'm not always the most careful with, like, I'm very careful with money in the sense that I'm stingy. I just don't like spending money on things. So I do pay attention, but I will forget things. And I don't want to end up in a place where at the end of the year I go, I've made no money because I spent it all on tools that I either didn't need or I wasn't using to the best of my ability. So that's my Lasso review. I hope you enjoyed it. I tried to keep it short and sweet, and I hope that you guys learned something. If you have questions about it, I'm happy to chat, but I will say I am not a full-on Lasso expert. I just used it for 2 months, and that was gifted, but I was not asked to do a review. I just asked to try it because I've been an affiliate for a little bit now because I've used the free revenue thing for another site. So yeah, I had a good time playing around with it. I like trying out new tools, and for anyone that does have a site that this is applicable for, probably worth it for you. Or if, unlike me, you don't like playing around with coding custom boxes, it probably is worth it. Like I did see a 2,000, and this was in January too. January is like the low season for Amazon, especially because everyone spent all their money. I did see 2,000 more clicks. Now the income only went up like $10, but also to have an increase in income from December to January probably is pretty significant. That site just hasn't existed long enough. I started it like early last year. It hasn't existed long enough for me to have data on the average like income flows for it. So I'm sure that that played a role. And yeah, if I tested it for longer, maybe we'd see more patterns of shifts. But I do think with a tool like this, you also need to be intentional about actually using it to the best of its ability. And I've kind of put that site on the back burner right now. So I'm not writing new content at the moment either. Otherwise, yeah, maybe I would try to find more Amazon friendly stuff. So thank you so much. And if you'd like to learn more about the other tool I talked about, Filate, I do have another video on it and I will link it in the description. If you'd also like to learn about my favorite travel affiliates, you can join me at sheknowsseo.co, where I did a review of all the best travel affiliates. And if you'd like to learn how I grow my sites and make affiliate income, which works on all of my sites in 4 different niches now, 5 before I sold the last one, you can join me in the SEO Roadmap, which is my signature SEO course. But we go through a lot more than SEO. We talk about writing affiliate posts, ranking affiliate posts, creating digital products, sending emails and selling via your emails, and building a community that is really going to sustain you. So I'll also link that in the description, and maybe I'll see you in there. Okay, have a good day.